There is a force acting against you right now. And no, she is not out there, in the circumstances, people or challenges of the world. She lives inside, silent, convincing you that today is not a good day, you deserve to rest, or this is too much for you. This is your true enemy, the inner saboteur. He knows all his weaknesses because he is you. Most people believe they are not advancing for lack of opportunities. But the truth is harder. It is the lack of discipline, focus, and mental control that keeps them stuck in a cycle of frustration. The enemy doesn't have to scream to win. It wins when you choose comfort instead of growth, when you choose immediate pleasure instead of commitment to your personal evolution. Have you noticed how easy it is to promise and hard to fulfill? Create goals and abandon them a week later? This pattern is not coincidence. He was shaped by years of limiting logic, inherited beliefs, and fear of success. It's time to change that. But beware, this transformation will not be comfortable. It will require mental reprogramming, daily training, and an almost merciless discipline. If you are tired of starting and stopping, feeling locked and living hostage to yourself, this is the time. What you will learn here is not just a method. It is a lifestyle. A path of constant evolution. Because when you dominate your mind, you conquer inner freedom. And the first step is to understand that your greatest enemy has never been out there. The hardest struggle of your life will not be against other people. It will be against the part of you who want to give up. What is the use? Which doubts, that fears. This inner enemy does not rest. He knows his weaknesses and knows exactly where to poke. He is the master of silent sabotage, and the worst disguises on logic, prudence, even self-love. If you have tried to change your life and failed, it was not a lack of capacity. It was a lack of discipline. Without it, even the biggest dreams saw smoke. With it, even the worst days become steps of evolution. Discipline is the bridge between intent and realization. It is the antidote against procrastination, comfort, and immediate pleasure that keeps us stagnant. This channel is not just a video space, it's a dojo. A mental training field, where each word is a blow against the old version of you. Here, the Stoic philosophy is not theory, it is practical, it is sweat, it is direct cut in what locks you. If you seek transformation, you will need to face discomfort, pain, and truth. There are no shortcuts. But there is a way. A path built with daily habits, micro goals, commitment, and self-knowledge. Let's not just motivate you. Let's train your mind. Because the real battle is not won with emotion. It wins with forged mentality and the fire of consistency. Many people spend their entire lives trying to overcome external enemies: the boss, the government, the crisis, the time. But the truth is that the true obstacle is within the mind itself. It's that subtle voice that says leave tomorrow, which pretends to be protecting you, but is actually crashing you. It is the internal saboteur that you have not yet learned to identify. This enemy is smart. He doesn't arrive shouting, arrives with excuses that seem sensible. You're tired, it's better to wait for the right time, this can go wrong. He speaks to his voice. Use arguments that seem rational. But behind this is the fear of growth, change, and responsibility that comes with success. Unmasking this enemy is the first step to overcome it. And that requires constant vigilance. Whenever you are about to act and feel an internal resistance, stop and ask yourself, is this prudence? Or is it fear disguised as logic? Only with self-knowledge and mental training will you separate the true voices from the lies that your mind tells you to keep you small. The most dangerous of this enemy is that it adapts. When you evolve, it changes shape. Therefore, the battle is constant. But here's the good side: if it is part of you, it can also be reprogrammed. With discipline, consistency, and consciousness, you become the master of your mind. And that's where the true transformation begins. Since cave times, our brain has been shaped for a single mission, keeping us alive. And how does he do that? Avoiding risks, pain, and effort. In other words, seeking comfort at any cost. The problem is that in today's world, this same instinct became a slow poison. He leads you away from everything that requires growth. The comfort zone seems safe, but it is a disguised prison. Inside, nothing blooms. There is no evolution, no achievement, no overcoming. Just repetition. And the more you remain in it, the harder it is to leave. The inner enemy uses this security as bait. He says, "Stay here, it's okay." But it is not. You are just surviving, not living. If you are anxious just thinking about changing, this is your brain's old system trying to protect you. But protect from what? To evolve? To expand its limits? There comes a time when you need to reprogram this coding. And it starts when you consciously choose what is uncomfortable. An early morning training. A project you have been postponing. A no that needs to be said. Each time you choose productive discomfort, you weaken the enemy and strengthen your discipline. Remember, comfort is not rest. Constant comfort is stagnation. And you were not born to live stuck in a mediocre version of yourself. Most people think they are afraid to fail. But what really paralyzes is the fear of working. It looks strange, right? But you think if you succeed, you will have to support this new level. You will have to get out of invisibility, take responsibility, maintain consistency. And the inner enemy knows that it scares. Success requires you to commit yourself, that you expand, that you abandon old versions of yourself. This means losing excuses, changing habits, surrounding yourself with a conducive environment. The mind, accustomed to predictability, panic just thinking about it. So she creates subtle sabotage to keep you in almost. This is why many people live starting projects and stopping soon after. It's not a lack of talent, it's fear of what comes after it worked. Success requires a new identity, a new mental standard. And the inner enemy knows that by gaining something large, you can no longer pretend to be small. Winning this fear begins with acceptance. You are made to grow. Success is not a weight, it is a call. But to serve you, you will need relentless discipline, clarity of goals, and a serious commitment to your evolution. Fear will continue there. But he won't send it anymore. Have you ever noticed how easier it is to believe in your limitations than on your abilities? This is no coincidence. From an early age, we were exposed to criticism, comparisons, and messages that planted seeds of doubt. Over time, this voice has become internal, and today it is she who says you are not good enough. This is the most cruel enemy, what lives in the mirror. The low self-esteem does not shout. She whispers. It makes you content with less, accept bad relationships, abandon projects in half. She convinces you that you are being realistic, when it is actually being dominated by limiting beliefs. And in the meantime, life goes on without you realizing how much you are sabotaging. This limiting logic does not fall apart with empty motivational phrases. You need to dive into self-knowledge, question where these ideas came from, and especially reprogram your mind with new narratives. This requires internal work, willpower, and a daily practice of self-pity, because if punishing has never led to no one to true transformation. Want to start turning this game? Stop comparing yourself with others and start committing to your own evolution. Small daily victories. Healthy habits. An environment that inspires you. And most importantly, deal with how you treat someone you love. The voice of the internal enemy loses strength when you learn to listen with respect. Have you noticed how to postpone a just for today task seen a whole week doing nothing? This is the cycle of procrastination, one of the favorite disguises of the internal enemy. He begins with an innocent thought, I will do this later. But the after never comes, because your mind associates discomfort with action. And inertia becomes standard. Procrastination is treacherous. It offers immediate relief, but charges a high price: guilt, frustration, stagnation. Each time you advance something important, it reinforces for yourself the idea that you are not able to fulfill. And this feeds low self-esteem, which in turn feeds even more procrastination. A powerful vicious cycle. The secret to breaking this cycle is not to expect motivation. It is acting even unwillingly. Create micro goals. Start with 5 minutes. A ridiculously small step. When you do this, you reprogram your mind to associate action with movement, not pain. This strengthens your discipline and begins to dismantle the trap from self-sabotage. Want to get out of the prison of procrastination? Stop expecting to feel like it. Discipline is to do even unintentionally. And this is trained. A small action today is worth 1,000 promises for tomorrow. Remember, the inner enemy does not resist a consistent attack. Each task is accomplished as a direct blow to it. The inner enemy is intelligent. He knows that if he arrived with obvious excuses, you will realize. Then he uses a more sophisticated trick: logic. But not any logic, a limiting, skewed logic that sounds rational, but it's just disguised fear. Now is not the right time, he'll expect to be more prepared, better not risk. Have you heard that before? These arguments seem prudent. But deep down, they are invisible walls that keep you paralyzed. It is the mind creating safety-looking traps. And the smarter you are, the more convincing your self-sabotage. After all, who better to manipulate you than yourself? Deconstructing this logic requires presence. You have to stop and question, this is really wise? Or is my mind trying to protect me from the pain of growth? Reprogramming your mindset is not to exclude fear, but put courage in charge. And this only happens with deliberate practice and constant consciousness. Start challenging your own ideas. Write your most common excuses and debate them as a lawyer against the defendant. Create a mental environment where growth is the standard, not the exception. Because true logic is the one that drives you, not the one that chains you in elegant justifications. It may seem exaggeration, but here's a raw truth: without discipline, you don't get anything that really worthwhile. Talent, inspiration, luck, all of this loses to the strength of someone who appears every day, even unwillingly. Discipline is what transforms intention into reality. It is she who supports her biggest dreams when enthusiasm ends. There will be a day when you will wake up unmotivated, without energy, without seeing results. And that's when most give up. But who has discipline does not depend on motivation. It acts because you know that every action, however small, is a step towards personal evolution. Discipline teaches you to continue even when the mind screams to. It is not a gift, it is a workout. It starts at the simple waking up at the right time, fulfilling what you promised yourself, avoiding that old destructive habit. Gradually, you begin to shape a new identity. A stronger, more reliable version. Discipline gives you power, gives you structure, and especially, it gives you freedom. Want to open the doors of the transformation? Forget magic formulas. Embrace the process. Have clear goals, divide them into micro goals, and focus on daily habits. The result comes with the consistency. The path is difficult, but the reward is immense. You become someone who can tell yourself. There is a sneaky villain who sabos millions of people every day. The search for easy solutions. It is the illusion that there is a shortcut, a magic formula, a miraculous hack that will resolve years of stagnation in a few days. The mind loves this idea, because it promises immediate pleasure without demanding pain or effort. But guess what? It is trapped. The truth is that the path of growth is hard. It requires consistency, controlled pain, patience. But the inner enemy prefers that you jump from method to method, always abandoning everything when it starts to get uncomfortable. Worse, he convinces you that you are exploring possibilities, when you are actually just running away from real work. Easy solutions are like sweets. They addict, but do not nourish. They may even give temporary relief, but they make you weaker in the long run. When you understand this, it begins to seek depth. It begins to value the pain that strengthens, the discomfort it shapes, the effort it transforms. Because only what is built with discipline is lasting. Want a real path? Stop looking for shortcuts and start walking for real. Step per step. With humility, with commitment, and a stoic mindset. What seems more difficult today, tomorrow becomes your new base. True growth does not come from what is easy, it comes from what you do, even when it is difficult. Have you ever felt paralyzed in the face of too big goal? This is not lazy, it is overload. When the mind perceives something as impossible to accomplish, it activates a defense mechanism it makes you completely avoid. The internal enemy loves this scenario. He whispers, "Better not even start, it will be too much for you." The common mistake is trying to change everything at once. Waking up early, starting the diet, training, meditating, reading, working more. Everything on Monday. Result? Tiredness, frustration, and abandonment. It is at this moment that the internal enemy wins, making you believe it was not born for it. But the truth is that the problem is not you, it's the strategy. Great goals need to be broken into small pieces. Daily micro goals. Goals so simple that it is impossible not to fulfill them. 1 paragraph per day. 10 minutes of training. 1 more glass of water. This approach reduces mental weight, generates small victories, and, over time, builds gigantic results. The discipline strengthens when you focus on the now. In the next step, do not try to climb the mountain in a jump, focus on the next step. The inner enemy loses strength when you stop looking at the top and start walking. With consistency, what seems distant today becomes part of its new normal. You are not lazy. It is not incapable. Much less weak. What happens is that your mind has been programmed to protect you and, by protection, understand, avoid pain, effort, and change. The inner enemy uses this old programming to keep you in standards that look safe but are sabotaging you silent. Think only how many behaviors do you come from habits that you didn't even consciously choose? Of phrases you heard in childhood? Of fears that are not even more real but still dictate their decisions? Without self-knowledge, you live on autopilot, stuck in a mental version that no longer suits your goals. Studying your mind is how to open the source code of your life. You begin to see patterns, understand reactions, identify mental traps. This is where inner freedom begins, when you realize that you no longer have to obey each thought as if they were absolute truth. You can rewrite this story. Mental reprogramming requires practice. Deep readings such as The Power of Habit, Mindset, The Obstacle is the Way, meditation, journaling, daily reflection. All of this strengthens your mental training. And over time, the mind is no longer your arrest and it becomes your ally. From there, the enemy no longer has so much power. You cannot reach a target you can't see. And that's exactly what the internal enemy wants: to keep you confused, lost, full of maybe and who knows. The clarity of goals is how to light a flashlight in the middle of mental darkness. When you know exactly what you want, each step begins to make sense. Write your goals as if you were explaining to a child. Be specific. Instead of "I want to improve my health," say, "I'll run 3 times a week and cut sugar for 30 days. This clarity reduces the margin for excuses. The brain needs direction, and without it, it chooses the easiest way: stagnation. Revisit your goals frequently. Put them visible post-its in the mirror, alarm on your cell phone, goals in the room. What is remembered is executed. And the more you reinforce your commitment to clear goals, the more the internal enemy weakens. The mind begins to understand this is serious here. Start today. Take paper and pen. Write, what do you want? Why? How long? The simple act of declaring with clarity already active a new mental standard. Because the direction is not distracted by shortcuts, it goes firm, even when the path tightens. One of the most common mistakes of those who want to change their lives is to aim too loud and try to do everything at once. Here comes the frustration, the feeling of disability, and that's it. The inner enemy laughs. The mind hates feeling that it is overwhelmed. Therefore, turning great goals into micro goals is one of the most powerful secrets of discipline. Micro goals are small, clear, and daily actions that keep you in motion. Want to write a book? Start with 10 minutes a day. Want to lose weight? Focus first on drinking more water and walk 15 minutes. Does it look little? It may seem like it, but that's what the habit builds. And habit, consistently, becomes a lifestyle. These small daily victories feed their self-esteem. With each goal met, your brain releases dopamine, that good feeling of "I'm moving." This reinforces discipline naturally without suffering. Best of all, weakens the inner sabotager, which loses space whenever you prove to yourself. So, stop trying to climb the entire stairs with a jump. Focus on the next step. Divide your goal until it becomes so simple that it is impossible to say no. This turns your goal from something scary into something affordable, and then the discipline flows with much more lightness and power. Discipline is not built on great occasional decisions. It is born in the small repeated choices every day. Having a structured routine is like creating a rail for your mind. Train it no longer has to decide all the time, just follow the flow. And this dramatically reduces the chance of self-sabotage. No need to complicate. A good routine starts with 3 or 4 simple but powerful habits. Wake up at the same time, avoid your phone in the morning, write your goals, and do something that brings you closer to your goal. The secret is not quantity, it is the consistency. Even a lean routine made every day has a huge impact. These daily habits act like a shield against the internal enemy. He will try to distract you, get tired, convince you to jump just today. But when the habit is rooted, you act even without thinking. The action becomes automatic. And that's where you cease to depend on willpower all the time. Your structure takes control. Create rituals. Make your practices pleasant. Light a candle before reading, put a song to meditate, use a special notebook to plan the day. The brain loves these signs. They warn, it's time to focus. And over time, your routine is no longer effort and becomes identity. You become a disciplined someone because it acts as such every day. You don't have to be stronger than temptation. It needs to be smarter. One of the biggest mistakes in searching for discipline is thinking that willpower will solve everything. But the truth is that when temptation is within reach, the internal enemy always tries to convince you to give in. Therefore, the environment needs to play by your side. Want to eat better? Do not fill the house with bullshit. Want to focus on work? Take the phone closely. Want to sleep early? Turn off the notifications at night. It looks simple, and it is. Because discipline is not only born of effort, it grows in the absence of distraction. Which is not in sight, no choice. And what is not seen, choice, no problem. Environment is more powerful than motivation. And the inner enemy knows that. It feeds on easy access. That's why each time you make a bad choice more difficult, you weaken this sabotager. Make the way of success simpler, and the more complicated distraction. It changes the game. Start now. Look around you. What is pulling you down? Which triggers are feeding their old habits? Eliminate what you can. Replace with something that supports you. This simple act of external cleaning has a direct impact on its inner freedom. Because discipline is also knowing what to remove, not just what to do. Discipline is not about punishing yourself. It's about protecting yourself. And it starts with self-care. Many people enter the journey of personal transformation as if it were a war against themselves. But if you treat your mind and body as enemies, you are eating exactly what you want to fight. The way is not for violence, it is for consciousness. Self-care is not luxury, it is strategy. Sleep well, feed with intelligence, move your body, respect your limits. All of this strengthens your internal battlefield. Because an exhausted body and overloaded mind are fertile land for procrastination, self-sabotage, and limiting logic. If you don't take care of yourself, any effort becomes torture. And the inner enemy takes advantage of it, whispering, "Isn't that for you? Do you see how hard it is?" But when you nourish yourself, respect yourself, and welcome, you create an invisible shield against that voice. The discipline begins to come from a place of self-esteem and not of obligation. Start with the basics: water, sleep, conscious breathing. Create moments of break during the day. Learn to say no. Treat as you would treat someone you want to see. The true warrior is not one who destroys himself to conquer, but what is strengthened every day with intention, balance, and self-pity. You have been conditioned to avoid pain at any cost. But real growth lives exactly where it hurts. Each discomfort faced with courage is an opportunity for mental strengthening. Pain is not your enemy, it's your coach. And when you learn to face it ahead, it begins to shape an unbeatable mindset. The inner enemy loves when you run away from pain. Because each time you retreat in the face of a challenge, it gains strength. But when you accept pain as part of the process, something changes. your mind to look for easy exits and begins to understand that discomfort is not punishment, it is cut. This is where the transformation happens. Practical example: that workout you didn't want to do, that difficult conversation you live in, that project that gives you cold in the belly. When facing these situations, you reprogram your mind to grow under pressure. And this is how the inner freedom is built, by overcoming itself, and discomfort at a time. Do you want to really change? Change the question how to avoid pain, how to grow through it. Change the meaning of discomfort. See it as a sign that you are advancing. With Stoic mentality, you not only support the pain, you turn it into strength. Because every warrior needs the fight to prove his greatness. It is no use starting in full force and stopping in the first difficulty. What really separates who transforms the life of those who only talk about it is consistency. Do the basics every day, even when no one is looking. Even when the results have not yet appeared. This is relentless discipline. And this is what shapes a new identity. The consistency is silent. It does not shine at first, it does not impress on social networks. But over time it builds extraordinary things. Your internal enemy will try to convince you that you are going too slowly. But the truth is, slowly and always wins the game. One action a day wins 1,000 unquieted intentions. The key is not to stop. Even if you make a mistake, come back. Even if it falls, get up. No matter how many times you need to start over, what matters is continuing. The journey of personal evolution is not about perfection, it is about persistence. And every day you fulfill your part, however small, you are breaking the limiting logic of the past. Create a follow-up system. Use a planner, an app, or even a simple notebook. Celebrate the small victories. Reinforce your whys. And remember, discipline is trembling, but consistency is what ensures that you get along the way. Because in the end, inner freedom is conquered by those who remain in the arena day after day. Now that you know the enemy, the question is, what will you do with it? Will you continue allowing him to say his decisions, or will he take control and start training his mind with discipline? The choice is yours, and it needs to be made every day. Don't expect to feel ready. Start with what you have, where you are, the way you give. Reread this script whenever you feel you are getting lost. Reinforce your goals. Adjust your routines. Be loyal to what you want to achieve, even when it is difficult. Because it is precisely there, in pain, tiredness, and discomfort, that you separate from the crowd. The consistency puts you in front. The discipline keeps you in the game. So tell me, which micro goal will you fulfill today? What excuse are you going to shut up right now? What part of your mental programming needs to be rewritten? The answers are inside. And if you heard here, it's because you're ready to do it differently. If this content made sense to you, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Here, we don't sell empty motivation. We train mental warriors. And this is just the first of many battles that we will win together.